Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where finally, at long last, we figured out what was going on with the pathfinding off of the first and the last biome hexes, or rather world hexes. I can't believe that I didn't consider, hey, these are the two hexes we clicked on, so maybe that makes them special. I just never even thought of it. But hey, we figured it out, so that's good. And yeah, this appears to be working absolutely perfectly at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and say, as of right now, the get nearest entry point issues, I'm not convinced that they actually technically existed. Either that or the fix that we just put in also fixed those? I don't know. Anyway, what we do know is that generating these three world hexes and seeking the pathfind through them took a little bit of time. But that's okay. I think that's actually fine. The next thing that we need to implement, and I'll just put that down in the known issues column. Let's see here. And for right now, until we see proof that it isn't fixed, I'm going to assume that hexmanager.getNearestEntryPoint is actually working as intended, and that was some weird artifacting from having those hexes not be generated. For now, until we see proof otherwise, that's what I'm going to assume. So, known issues are inter-world hex pathfinding has to generate the world hex of all intervening hexes that aren't generated, so that takes a while. Okay, so, and we'll think about optimizing that later on, because having that hitch there the first time is not exactly okay. It's not something that I want. So, let's, go ahead and find where that waypoint dragging is unimplemented. And that's right here. If there's a selected route, and if that route has a waypoint being dragged, move the dragged waypoint to here and calculate route. Okay. Easy enough. So if we're holding the left mouse button, I gotcha. So then we need to have a selected route, and then we need to have a waypoint that is being dragged. So public waypoint dragged waypoint equals null. That will start as null. And then in the waypoint script, when we are clicking on the waypoint, we can't really click on the line anymore, since we removed those colliders. Okay, but if we are left-clicking a waypoint, dragging equals true, I think we can go ahead and remove this. Now that's going to cause us a small error, in that dragging equals false, so then this would be root dot dragged waypoint equals null at that point, and then here root dot dragged waypoint equals this. No, not equals this, just equals this. Okay, there we go. So now our root knows when a waypoint should be being dragged. And then we can go into our, I believe this is in the building hex? Yeah, it's in the building hex. As soon as this is compiled, there we go. Waypoint to be dragged. Excellent. So now at this point, if there's a selected route, so let's go ahead and do if business.selected route is not equal to null, then if business.selectedRoute.dragged waypoint is not equal to null, then we are waypoint to be dragged. So we, at that point, want to move the dragged waypoint to this location and then recalculate the route. Now, how do we go about doing that? I believe we need to do... We just move the waypoint physically? Yeah, I think we just physically move the waypoint. Now, when we create the waypoint, we do it here. Okay, so this is a slightly modified position. Get building hex position hex ID. I'm not sure why we have that. We could just use the transform.position, but whatever. We'll continue doing the same thing. So then at this point, business.selectedRoute.draggedWaypoint.transform.position equals that position right there. That changes the position of the waypoint. I don't think we need to update anything in here. I think it just uses the transform.position. Correct? Yeah, it just uses transform.position. So that's fine. And then we just need to recalculate the route. So just update path, I believe. So at that point, we would just need to business.selectedRoute.draggedWaypoint, or not even .draggedWaypoint, just business.selectedRoute.updatePath. And I believe that's all we need to do. The other thing I want to check is, because this is just on mouse down, so this is going to be updating this route every frame that it is over a building hex and the button is held down. We only want to update the route if it's not already in this position, right? So let's go ahead and say vector3 this hex's, or just this hex waypoint position equals this. Right here. So we'll paste that in there. And then we will just say equals this hex waypoint position. And then up here, we will go ahead and say, and let's see, business.selectedRoute.draggedWaypoint.transform.position is not equal to this hex waypoint position. Okay, so now it'll only happen if we need to actually change the position. It'll only update then. That should make things run a little more smoothly. Okay. So let's go ahead and create ourselves a bit more modest of a route here, rather than the big sprawling ones we have been creating for testing purposes. And we're just going to attempt to drag around some of the waypoint positions and see if it works. Theoretically, it should. Like, it's not that difficult of a thing to do. But first, it would need to generate. See, it's just so variable with how long it takes to generate each section, and that's because when we are generating our Voronoi noise, I'm pretty sure, like 95% certain, that it's because of our while loops. And actually, this would be in Hex Manager. Because what we do is we choose a random one, and then we check to see if it's a valid one, and if it's not, then we choose a different random one. And if it chooses the same one every time, it could theoretically go forever. So, there is that. We're just going to come on in here, and we are going to... we need to purchase land, so we're going to buy this piece. And then we're going to create a route starting here, and we're just going to take it up to here. Oh, no, that's right, we need to select it. Up to here. No reference exception. What? Uh-huh. Right. We're within the same biome hex and world hex. So if that's the case, we need to modify our pathfinding here. Right here. So if from.world hex is not equal to to.world hex, then we do this. But we were within the same biome hex. Well, if from.world hex is not equal to to.world hex, manager biome hex inclusion. So down here, when we do our biome hex inclusion, let's pathfind in biome hexes. Here's pathfind building to vector 3. So then, where did this error out? Line 341? Yeah. So, if biome hex inclusion is not equal to null, then we do this. And initiate biome hexes to consider. And then down here, if biome hexes to consider.count is not equal to 0, then we do this. So theoretically, now I think it would work. Let's go ahead and test it as soon as it compiles. There we go. So I'm like 95% certain at this point that that will fix it. If it doesn't, it'll still just be a null reference exception. And yeah, there's a lot of optimization of this startup that we could do, but I'm not too interested in optimization at this point. I want to get the game working. And I kind of feel like with all of the pathfinding issues we had, I've kind of lost sight of where the game is going. But I'm sure I can get it back. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll head on in here. We'll buy this clearing. Route management, create route. Go there, select the route. Go there. Excellent. And then, theoretically, we should be able to drag the waypoint around. And then we can add another waypoint. Uh-huh. And then we can... Ooh. That was a little slow. Okay. So, I figured out why that was happening. So this is working fine. But, as you can see, as long as we're on a road, it works great. It works exactly as expected. Exactly as it should. We can click and drag, and it will recalculate all of these paths in real time. But the moment we go off of the road, it hitches. There's a reason for that. And that reason is that it's 1,000 times more expensive to go off the road. So it searches 1,000 tiles down the roads. So we can go ahead and optimize that. If there is no biome hexes to consider, right here. If there's no biome hexes to consider, then we need to check to see right here. So if biome hexes to consider.count does equal 0, then we need to check to see that building.location.biomehex is equal to current.location.biomehex. So if building.location.biomehex equals, or rather is not equal to, current.location.biomehex, then we just continue. We don't need to consider that hex, because we know we're not going off hex. We already know that for a fact. Excellent. So I mean, there's dragging pretty much implemented for the route generation. And that should completely fix the little pitching problem. And I mean, realistically, what are the odds that we're going to be putting in a route position that far away? Like a waypoint that far away that we are like 5-6 world hexes away? It's kind of low at this stage of the game. And later in the game, those hexes should already be generated, right? I mean, we're gonna need like refueling stations and stuff to even get to them. So theoretically, it should take a while to get to that point. We can generate those slowly over time. Like, we could theoretically generate maybe 1 per frame if it's not generated already, and then generate on demand as necessary. It's a possibility. Okay, so let's just make sure that this is working correctly. We'll come on in here, land management, buy land. I'm just going to buy this warehouse. Route management, create route from the warehouse. Select the route up to, say, here. And then we'll go to here, and then drag this guy off over here. Yeah, that's working perfectly at this point. We can drag the waypoint wherever we want it. Perfect. Well, it is time to put a cut in here, and I'd say that this is a good time for a cut. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Next episode, I'm not exactly sure what we'll be doing, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. Subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time.